The stars never looked so serene, cold pinpricks of ancient fire scattered across a canvas of black silence. But Captain Elara Voss knew better. She stood at the observation deck of the Tandem Horizon, a cargo vessel retrofitted for long-range mining support, its yellow hull drifting through the asteroid field like a wasp threading between raindrops. She wasn't admiring the view. She was counting the surveillance drones trailing in their wake. "We've got 6 orbitals shadowing us from Council space," she said into the comm, "standard configurations. No weapon signatures, yet." From the helm, Lieutenant Yannick Rourke gave a dry laugh. "They're not worried about weapons. They're watching us because they think we're building one." Elara didn't respond. He wasn't wrong. 50 years ago, the Treaty of Galactic Peace had declared humanity incapable of restraint. Earth's wars, its planetary-scale civil breakdowns, had left the rest of the galaxy hesitant, afraid. The Triumvirate Council permitted humans to settle the stars, but under the iron claws of disarmament. No warships. No planetary shields. No orbital cannons. Not even fighter escorts. Trade, science, and mining were all that remained of humanity's once boundless ambitions. And yet, across the bridge of the Tandem Horizon, hidden beneath engineering schematics and resource manifests, there was something far more dangerous than ore. "We're 5 minutes out from drift point," Yannick said, eyes flicking across the console. "You sure we want to go through with this?" "We don't have a choice," Elara said, stepping closer to the central NAV station. "We lost Vega Colony last week. Raided clean. No Council ships intervened. You know why? Because they'd rather see humans die than admit the treaty is flawed." Yannick glanced at her, expression hardening. He'd lost his sister in that raid. He didn't ask again. The NAV console pinged softly. The ship shuddered as it passed into the shadow of a massive asteroid. The moment they were clear of direct line of sight, Elara keyed in the override sequence. Hull panels folded away with mechanical precision, revealing what no Council drone had ever seen. 12 modular canisters, each disguised as mining equipment, extended from the cargo bay and began assembling in silence. Within minutes, they would combine into a short-range defense platform, equipped with plasma shielding and 2 ion pulse rails. It wasn't much, but it was enough to fight off pirates, and it was very, very illegal. "You're sure this will go unnoticed?" Yannick asked. "No," she admitted. "But I'd rather be court-martialed than buried." Beneath them, the asteroid spun slowly, its surface pockmarked with excavation scars from earlier runs. This wasn't a simple test. This was the first live deployment of the Phantom Protocol, a hidden initiative sanctioned by no government, funded through black channels, and built by engineers who'd grown tired of burying friends. A voice crackled through the comm, "Captain Voss, this is Lyra from Outpost Kestrel. We're receiving telemetry. Power levels are stable. Shield integrity at 92%. "Good," Elara said. "Begin drone deployment. Let's see if we can get a lock on the relay pirates used last time." "Copy that. Sending 2 scouts now." Yannick turned away from the console. "Do you ever think about what happens if the Council finds out? If they trace the entire protocol back to Earth?" "They won't trace it back to Earth," Elara said. "They'll trace it to me. You're okay with that?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she watched the automated guns on the platform swivel to life, tracking phantom targets in the asteroid belt. Her hand drifted to the silver pendant around her neck, a token from her daughter. She hadn't seen her in over a year. "I'm okay with surviving," she said quietly, "and giving my crew a chance to do the same." A sudden alert pulsed red across the bridge. An object had entered the asteroid field, fast, small, and not broadcasting any ID signatures. "Ship incoming," Yannick muttered. "Trajectory suggests an interceptor. Not one of ours." Elara stepped forward. "Activate the platform. Defensive mode only." "You think it's a Council probe?" "No," she said. "They'd never come in hot. This is someone else." The object accelerated. It wasn't sleek like Council craft, nor did it bear the clumsy bulk of a trade vessel. It was agile, designed for speed and pursuit. Likely a mercenary skiff, hired by whoever had raided Vega. The Council wouldn't protect humanity, but that didn't mean no one else had a vested interest in keeping them weak. They've seen the platform, Yannick said. They're breaking formation, looping behind the asteroid. Could try a flank. Elara nodded. Deploy a warning shot. Just enough to send a message. Yannick tapped the control. One of the ion rails hissed and spat a bolt of violet energy into the void, exploding against a rock wall not far from the skiff's trajectory. The skiff twisted violently, veering off course, then disappeared behind a cluster of debris. They waited. The scanner cleared. No pursuit, Yannick said. They're gone. Elara exhaled, but the tightness in her chest remained. You think they'll report it? He asked. Maybe, she said. But not before someone else tries again. The moment word gets out that humans have teeth again, it's not the Council we'll have to worry about. It's everyone else who thought we were easy prey. She turned from the viewport. The stars looked just as serene as before. But now, they shimmered with consequence. We pack it up, she said. Deactivate and retract. No more drills out here. Where to next? Elara's eyes flicked to the NAV chart. Back to Io Prime. We've got 6 more freighters to retrofit, and only one way to keep them safe. And if the Council catches up? Her voice was calm now, resolute. Then we show them what happens when you force peace on people who still bleed. The ship pivoted, engines humming with restrained power. As the asteroid field fell away behind them, the tandem horizon slipped into drift space, not just a cargo hauler, but a secret, defiant spark in the dark. The hangar bay smelled of ozone and burnt lubricant, scents that clung to old metal and older memories. Beneath the skeletal framework of what looked like an industrial cargo freighter, Specialist Relan Vex adjusted the alignment on a weapon stabilizer that technically didn't exist. His fingers moved fast, precise, not because of urgency, but because the wrong eyes could wander through the wrong hatch at any time. You torque that joint too tight and you'll rattle the barrel loose at 10 clicks, said a voice behind him. Relan didn't have to turn. Only one person could sneak up on him without triggering the sensors. Then I'll make sure to shoot at 9, he replied, tightening the coupling anyway. Elara Voss stepped into the light, arms crossed, gaze sharp. She had shed the captain's uniform for something more functional. Black flight fatigues and a sleeveless jacket patched with burns and oil stains. It suited her better. In this shipyard, authority wasn't granted by rank but by resolve. We're behind schedule, she said. That's what happens when half your crew are ex-miners and the other half are smuggling tech they've only seen in textbooks. They're learning fast. Relan wiped his hands on his belt and stood, eyes flicking up to the ship's frame. From the outside, it was a shipping barge. Inside, it was a war machine. Modular panels hiding railgun housings, reinforced armor buried under decoy plating, engine arrays tuned to burst into combat velocity. It was the third such craft he'd built in 6 months. They shouldn't have to learn, he muttered. This shouldn't be our burden. Tell that to the families on Vega. Her tone wasn't angry. It was something colder, like a warning wrapped in memory. He didn't argue. Elara wasn't here to soothe his ideals. She was here to win a war no one acknowledged had started. At the far end of the hangar, Lieutenant Rourke and Lyra walked alongside a hovering pallet of core modules. They were arguing, again. Lyra, data systems, fleet coordination, paranoid to a fault, was waving a schematic as if sheer volume could override physics. You cannot stabilize a stealth field around that heat profile. You'll leave a trail bright enough to fry comms on half a moon. Rourke held firm, grin unfazed. Which is why we're insulating with flex graphene. Bleed the heat into the cargo hold, let the crate act as a thermal sink. That's not how. It is now, Elara interrupted, her voice slicing across the bay. They both froze, then nodded, chastened but not defeated. In another life, they might have made a decent couple. In this one, they were too busy building ghosts. The Phantom Fleet was no longer theory. It was real, metal and circuitry, breath and defiance. Spread across asteroid belts, deep ocean shipyards, and forgotten lunar facilities, the fleet was assembling. They operated in silence, scattered across the frontier, cloaked in forged logs and phantom cargo manifests. Each ship berthed in secrecy was a direct violation of the treaty, a defiant whisper in the face of a galaxy that had written humanity off. Relan followed Elara toward the command chamber, their footsteps echoing through the gantries. Monitors blinked to life as they entered, displaying orbital paths, patrol rotations, and black sites marked with only numbers. One icon flashed red. A scout drone lost contact 3 hours ago near the Karthis drift. That's the second one this week, Reland said. Third, Elara corrected. We think someone's sweeping, likely Zenawi mercs. We don't know if they've found anything, but if they start piecing together the fragments, they'll think we're building a fleet. We are building a fleet. She looked at him then, a quiet intensity behind her eyes. For all her control, he could see it. Fatigue, frustration, and something heavier. Fear, maybe. Not for herself, but for everyone betting their lives on a lie made real. Then we need to move up the test, Reland said. Field trial, weapons live. Too risky. The Council's listening arrays will flag the energy signature. Then we run it cold, he said. Target derelict wreckage. Minimal output, clean up after. We need to know if these systems hold in real combat conditions. She nodded slowly. Choose the crew. One ship. I want you aboard. He stiffened. I'm not field-rated. You are now. Reland didn't argue. He knew better than to waste time on pride. If she was willing to put him on a live run, that meant they were out of options, or nearly out of time. Back in the hangar, the lights dimmed as the power grid rerouted. The newest vessel, Mercy's Edge, hovered into position for engine calibration. Lyra muttered warnings into her datapad while Rourke counterbalanced power curves. Around them, crews moved like a single organism, silent, efficient, driven. They weren't soldiers. Not yet. But they were something else. Builders of rebellion. Engineers of a hidden hope. And somewhere, out in the void, the Zenawi were watching. Waiting. They weren't the Council's problem. They weren't bound by treaties or politics. They raided without mercy, took what they wanted, and left burning hulls as their only signature. The Council said humans didn't need warships. Elara was preparing to prove them wrong. As Reland turned to recheck the stabilizers on Mercy's Edge, he noticed something strange on the scanner. An echo, faint, not on the manifest. He tapped the interface. Unregistered drift signature, portside belt. Could be a sensor ghost. Elara leaned over his shoulder. Or someone watching. He glanced up. You want to investigate? No, she said, voice calm. We let them think we didn't notice. Why? Because if they come back, she said, we'll be ready. The lights in the bay flared as the test ship powered on, engines humming like the breath of something long buried and newly awakened. For the first time in decades, a human warship prepared to stretch its wings. And this time, no treaty would stop it. The void around Karthis drift was quiet. Too quiet. Reland Vex sat rigid in Mercy's Edge's gunnery station, eyes flicking between telemetry readouts and sensor feeds, fingers hovering just above the control array. The test run had been intended as a proof of concept. Silent approach, soft ignition, low-powered system scan. In and out. No one was supposed to know they were here. But someone did. Still no contact, Rourke said from the pilot's seat. But I'm reading residual drive traces. Small ship, running cold. Either a courier or a ghost. Ghosts don't leave ion trails, Reland muttered. Neither do Zenawi ships when they're baiting a trap. Elara Voss stood behind them, arms folded, eyes locked on the central display. She didn't blink often in tense situations, just observed, absorbed, calculated. Her silence was weight enough to still the air inside the cockpit. How long do we hold here? Reland asked. Long enough to confirm they're not waiting for reinforcements, she said. The moment we pull out, they'll trace our vector. If they follow, we need to know if we can outrun them. They've got faster ships. But not smarter crews. Outside, Karthis drift loomed like a graveyard of broken moons. Massive chunks of shattered rock drifted in slow arcs, scarred with long-dead mining facilities and abandoned habitats. The drift was a relic of early expansion, used, exploited, and discarded. Anything salvageable in the wreckage? Elara asked. Probably, Reland replied. But that's not why we're here. I know. She tapped a control panel, magnifying the image of a long-split orbital refinery. Its hull was ruptured, oxidized debris trailing from its cracked core like rusted veins. Inside, heat signatures, dim, erratic. "Movement?" she asked. Reland squinted at the overlay. "Could be atmospheric venting. Could be rats. Or something with a lot more teeth." Rourke leaned back. "We're sitting in the middle of a ship graveyard, testing an illegal war vessel, being stalked by unknowns. Anyone else starting to miss cargo runs?" Neither of them answered. The silence said enough. The lights inside the cockpit shifted, status yellow. Proximity alert. A soft, low chime echoed through the hull. "Something just locked onto our trail," Rourke said. "We've been made." Reland's fingers dropped to the gunnery controls instinctively. "Hostile profile. Unknown class. Small, fast, vectored for our flank." Elara's voice was steel. "Do not fire unless fired upon." "This ship has never been fired upon," Reland said. "It doesn't even have a combat log." "It's about to." The ship systems powered into silent readiness. Plasma rails hummed low, shields spooled just under full strength, masking their true output. They were dressed like prey. The goal was to convince their hunter that they still were. The blip closed distance, quick, deliberate, no attempts at stealth now. Reland's screen lit up with enhanced readouts. As it edged into visual range, its profile resolved. Sleek frame. Black composite armor. Signatureless hull. No faction markings. Not Council. Not civilian. Definitely not friendly. "I've seen one of those before," Rourke said grimly. "Vega Colony. Same ship that disabled our orbital array before the main raid." Reland tensed. "Then this isn't a recon. This is cleanup." The enemy ship fired. No warning shot. No hail. Just a single pulse of kinetic energy, enough to shatter a smaller vessel in one strike. It missed, barely, slicing a chunk from a nearby asteroid instead. "Shields up," Elara said. "Return fire. Do not miss." Reland's hands moved with purpose. The plasma railguns rotated and discharged in tandem, two arcs of searing light spearing through the void. The first missed, calibration off from dust interference. The second hit. The enemy ship buckled, veered off course, but didn't fall. Instead, it rotated smoothly, targeting again. Smoke trailed from its side, but it pressed the attack. "They're not afraid to die," Reland said. "Then we make sure they don't get the choice." Rourke launched counter-thrust, the ship spiraling around an outcropping of debris. He flew like a man who'd never quite believed in fate, but was ready to cheat it anyway. The Mercy's edge bucked and twisted, her experimental thrusters keeping pace where logic said they shouldn't. The second exchange was brutal. Energy and metal tore through the vacuum. One of the test modules on Mercy's Edge's port side exploded. A decoy, thankfully, but it shook the hull hard enough to knock Reland into his chair's restraint. "I've got a lock," he said. "Pulse beam, charging." "Now," Elara ordered. The ship's bow-mounted cannon, hidden under layers of decoy plating, surged to life. A high-pitched whine filled the cockpit. The moment the target lined up, Reland released the beam. It hit centermass. The enemy ship detonated in silence, fragments scattering like dying stars. The sensors dimmed. Nothing left but debris and drifting metal. They didn't cheer. They didn't speak. The silence after a kill was never clean. Elara moved to the central console, typing in a command string. "Scrub all combat telemetry. Reformat test logs." This never happened. "You think the Council won't notice a blast signature like that?" Rourke asked. "They'll see it," she replied. "They just won't know who caused it." Reland looked out into the void. "We've officially crossed the line now." Elara turned to face him. "That line was crossed the day Vega burned." They plotted a return course, but none of them were thinking about home. The real war wasn't coming. It had already arrived. And next time, it wouldn't be one ship. It would be many. A storm gathered at the edge of regulated space, invisible to the eyes of law and order, but real enough for those who lived outside the treaties. Deep in the Arcani's wastes, past the reach of Council patrols, a hollowed asteroid spun slowly, its exterior disguised as a mining relic. Inside, The heart of rebellion beat louder than ever. Mercy's Edge docked without ceremony, her hull scarred and scorched, the silent testament of a battle no records would acknowledge. The crew disembarked in silence, their expressions grim, hollowed by the kill and what it meant. Relan Vex walked last, his steps slower than usual, eyes drawn not to the floor but to the screens that blinked with new data feeds from other cells across the system. They weren't alone. 3 more outposts had reported sightings of unmarked ships, Zenawi or something worse. Raiders that didn't take spoils, only silence. Even in the shadows, whispers spread like static, they were being hunted. Elara Voss stood at the center of the operations chamber, backlit by the glow of tactical overlays. She didn't speak at first, letting the tension settle like dust in a tomb. Around her, the command crew gathered, Rourke, Lyra, 2 others recently brought in from an Outer Rim installation. All of them looked to her now, not for orders, but for answers. "The enemy we faced wasn't a scout," she said finally, her voice low but steady. "It was a vanguard." Relan stepped forward, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Then the Zenawi know." "They suspect," Elara corrected. "And they're escalating." Lyra tapped a control node. A set of star maps filled the center holodisplay. "We intercepted a relay ping from an old Council relay station near Delpar. Scrambled protocol, but we decrypted part of it. A fleet's moving. Not Council. Not flagged. Heavily armed." "And heading where?" Rourke asked. "Here," she said. "Or somewhere close." A silence followed. Not the stunned kind. The calculating kind. Everyone in that room knew what it meant. Their project was no longer a secret. It had become a target. Relan rubbed his forehead. "We don't have enough ships. Not yet. Half of what we've built can't run a full cycle without melting a core." "Then we accelerate production," Elara said. "Even if we do, we're not ready for open war." "We won't give them one." Everyone looked at her. She stepped forward, voice sharpening. "We don't fight them head-on. We make them bleed on the way in. Hit their logistics. Interfere with their comms. Sabotage their staging zones before they know what's missing." "That's not a fleet tactic," Rourke said. "It is now." She activated a second overlay, nodes blinking across the rim worlds. Each one marked a hidden cache, a vessel near completion, or a cell ready to rise. "We've spent a decade building in silence. Now we speak in sabotage. Every shipment they lose, every scout that vanishes, we make them doubt. The goal isn't to win outright, it's to make them question if they can." Relan watched her, something unreadable in his expression. "What happens when doubt isn't enough?" "Then we make them afraid." Later, Relan found himself alone in the fabrication bay. Sparks flared from a repair unit overhead, welding a shattered stabilizer on the starboard wing. He stared up at the mechanical arms working with silent efficiency and wondered what made them different from what they fought. They were breaking a law to stop those who never followed one. Fighting fire with infernos. Footsteps echoed. Elara stepped beside him without speaking. "You really think fear will work?" he asked, not looking at her. "No," she said. "But I know surrender doesn't." He turned to her. "I didn't sign up to become what we're fighting." "You signed up to stop them." "I signed up to build ships." "You're building something bigger now." The silence stretched between them. Then she spoke again, quieter. "There's something else. The ship we fought. It wasn't just Zenawi. We've analyzed the debris. There were Council components embedded in its control matrix. Proprietary tech. Traced to a black contract flagged for planetary defense." Relan's stomach turned. "So they knew. Or someone within them did." She looked tired then, the weight of their decisions visible in the lines of her face. For all her strength, she was still human, still haunted by the price of resistance. "So what do we do?" he asked. "We go deeper," she replied. "We strike harder. We show them what happens when you corner the species they tried to tame." The fabricator sparked again, bathing the room in white light. And in that moment, it wasn't just a machine repairing a wing. It was the image of something primal, a people reforging their purpose from broken parts and stolen dreams. Far above the asteroid, invisible in open space, another ship blinked into position. It didn't transmit. Didn't move. Just watched. The next move was coming. And this time, the galaxy would hear it.